bringing us on camera. While I would like to agree with Cam Newton, I think this is just very, very far-fetched. It's not that Cam shouldn't be right. It's that Jerry Jones is going to make Cam Newton wrong. If you wanted to move off of Dak Prescott, you could have moved off of Dak Prescott before, but Jerry only really moves off of his quarterbacks if they get injured. He doesn't move off of his quarterbacks because of average to above average play. And at the end of the day, Dak Prescott is an above average quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He'll win 10 to 12 games more likely every single season. He'll win a playoff game maybe, or he'll go to the playoffs and lose. You're not moving off of Dak for that. Born and raised in Dallas, I've only seen so many starting quarterbacks. I mean, since I was probably 13 years old, I've seen Tony Romo, Dak Prescott with a touch of Vinny Testaverde and a little Quincy Carter early on. And mentioning Quincy Carter, y'all remember, that's the highest drafted quarterback the Cowboys have made in the last 25 years, and that was a second-round quarterback. I don't see a world where the Cowboys move off of Dak, where this is Dak's last chance. But, Shady, what do you say?
Man, Cam coming at him.
Cam coming at him.
Cam been wild lately. Is Dak better than Cam?
No.
Career-wise?
No. Cam got MVP.
I like Cam. That's my boy. You know, I'm going to disagree with Cam, and this is the reason why. Because the same thing that Cam is saying, I've been saying this for a while. After they lost in the playoffs to the Niners, right, at home, I said, I don't know if Dak's the guy. It's like they get to these big moments and he don't get it done. Yeah. Okay, the next year after that, they go back to the Niners, right? And he plays even worse. He throws some pick sixes like this game right here. Look at this. I mean, this is real, real bad. I said, you know what? They can't win with him. And then we go to the Packers the next year. I'm saying the same thing, and he's still there. So Dak, I see what you're saying, or Dak, Cam, I see what you're saying, but for Dak Prescott, for some reason, he's the only guy that gets away with these things. Yeah. You know? And it's like, you would think that an ownership would look at that, where this defense is playing phenomenal. We got a top defense. Got all this talent on defense. Got all this talent on offense. Got good coaches, right? And then we get to the big dance. No matter how good Dak plays the whole season, we get to the playoffs and he don't deliver. Mm-hmm. So I got to disagree with Dak or Cam. I think that Dak will always somehow, some way, find a way to get out of blame.
Not always. But I think this year, I mean, I disagree with Cam Newton because if you're going to move on, you better move now. Mm-hmm. Because them teams you just showed right there losing the playoffs, it was all pro after all pro after all pro after all pro after all pro on that roster. And now you telling me Cam Newton is going with this roster, go farther than he's went with those rosters, that just don't make sense. So if you're going to move on, you better move on now. Talking to Andy off camera, first-time head coaches to do good and go to the Super Bowl, George Seifert. San Francisco 49ers, 1989. I don't even know what year you was born. You might ain't even be born.
I wasn't born yet, Jay.
Acho wasn't even alive last time that happened. So if he is looking at Arch Manning, he better look at Arch Manning now because it's not like the Cowboys is going to the Super Bowl or they are going to change something dramatically this season. I think it'll be a solid year for the Cowboys. Dak will play well in the regular season. Like you said, might win a playoff game, but it's not like this team is going to the Super Bowl. So I disagree with Cam because I don't have them going to compete for a championship.
Yeah. I think how do y'all think the Cowboys eventually move off of Dak? You've been there when they moved off of Brett Favre, the great Brett Favre. Shady, you've been in Philadelphia when they moved off of Mike Vick.
McNabb, too.
And when they moved off of McNabb. I was in Philly when they moved off of Vick. I was in New York for a heartbeat a year before they moved off of Eli. What do y'all think it takes for the Cowboys to finally move off of Dak Prescott?
It's hard for me, right? Because I would have thought that when you have this type of roster, this type of team, and you go in the playoffs, because people like the regular season, that's cool. But for quarterbacks, you get graded on, what are you doing in the playoffs, right? I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. I watch you guys, critique him more in the playoffs than the regular season.
100%.
Right? Yeah. So when I look at Dak, when I watch him go up there to the Niners, and he was the weakest link on the squad. I don't care how well he played in the regular season. The playoffs, he didn't deliver at all. Matter of fact, we can really say the reason why they lost is because of you. And then as a coach, as an owner, when I go into the self-scout is, okay, how can we get better? What do we need to improve on? How the hell can you not look at your quarterback? Okay, let's run it back again. Then the next year, right, he has an MVP caliber year, number 2 in voting. And then we get to the playoffs. At home, we had like a 16 and 7-game winning streak at home, coming up against a first-year starting quarterback, Jordan Love, with a super young, inexperienced team with the Packers, And then we lose. Hold up. So now, let's self-scout again. And as I look at everything, what do we need to get better at? How can you not see that Dak was the issue? And you know what you do? The next year you give him $60 million. So as much as I want to blame Dak, I can't even blame Dak. Because who's holding you accountable? If I'm a running back and I'm having a great years, but then I'm fumbling, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and you can't count on me or I'm always hurt, whatever it may be, how can you not look at me like, yo, we got to move on from this? Nah, I'm going to give him more money. So I think Dak is really safe.
What did it take the Eagles to move on from McNabb?
He kind of had the same situation, right? He was doing really, really well. And I love Don, so I don't want to, talk bad about him, but I was being honest. He's doing the kind of same thing because he went to 4 NFC Championship games, right? Then he went to Super Bowl, and he had some
4 NFC Championship
right.
games.
Okay, right. So even him, right? He's getting there, and he wanted to get it done. You had the best. You have Andy Reid as your coach at that, okay? And then I think some of the leadership qualities wasn't there for a player like that. Like everybody wasn't really bought into him. And then eventually they had to move on. And they seen this young dude, he wasn't young, but Michael Vick, he came in there and
Was Mike a backup to McNabb?
Mike was the backup, right? He was doing RPO stuff, right? He was only doing Wildcat offense. He came from jail. When he came from jail, he wasn't really that good. It was funny. Like, this is Michael Vick, but then that rust knocked off. And you seen 7 from Atlanta. And it's like, yo, your replacement is in the building. Everybody gravitates to Michael Vick. He was a good leader. And Andy Reid said, if I could get my coaching, how good I am, into Michael Vick, we might be something. And then they moved on. And we didn't skip a beat.
So it's 2 things for me right here, because the Packers moved on from Brett Favre. We lost in the NFC Championship game, and Brett played at an elite level. But obviously, they knew what they would see in that practice, that they had an elite-level dude behind them. But not only that, you took Aaron in the first round. So you're going to give him an opportunity to play. But for Dak Prescott, Shady said it a little bit, and we was all on the show, the weakest link. If he was on the show with us, he'd been voted off first. And if Dak Prescott shows that again in the playoffs, because right now Jerry Jones has equipped you with 2 number 1 wide receivers. And if you get on this offense and you show you are the weakest link in the playoffs and we lose a game, we have to think about moving on. We cannot keep doing the same thing and getting the same results and losing in the playoffs, and you're being the number 1 reason. We have to move on. And it might hurt, and we might lose some money and have to eat some of that money and all that type of stuff, but you have to move on because he's not getting it done. Donovan McNabb went to 4 NFC. I didn't even know that right now. 4 NFC Championship games, and Andy and them still up there scratching their head like, we might need another dude? And Dak ain't even smelt them games? If he's the weakest link in the playoffs, you have to think about who is going to be his replacement. Whether it's a draft, whether it's a free agent, whoever it is, you got to start thinking about that. That's the easiest way for me to think. If he don't show up in the playoffs this year, you got to have some serious conversations about moving on from Dak.
And do you see why I'm so hard on Dak? Now, McNabb was a really good player. McNabb was nice. I don't think people give him enough credit because he has his wide receivers wasn't always Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Maclin and Jason Devon. It wasn't always that. And you were still taking them boys where you were taking them to.
Yeah.
And that still wasn't enough. So I seen that. I witnessed that. And then we get to Dallas, and my man plays well in the regular season, and we give him a pass. Because Michael Parsons ain't always going to be super young, right? Trayvon Diggs ain't always going to be young and healthy. It's not always going to happen like that. And we just keep giving him a pass. And y'all think I'm being tough on him. No, I seen him give rid of Donovan McNabb at his height.
I get it. What up, YouTube family? Welcome to the facility. Thanks for watching, and you better be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to get more highlights from the show and all of our exclusive content.